Tonight on The Buzz, Philip Hodgetts, the CEO of Intelligent Assistants and Lumberjack Systems, is a noted technologist with a love of media. Recently, he developed the Haiku of Production, and tonight he explains what this means and how we can use it ourselves. Rampant Design Tools recently launched over 2,000 new 4K effects for filmmakers, some of which are free. Tonight's CEO Sean Mullen showcases his latest titles. Finally, D.I.S. Consulting, founded in 1982, specializes in research to the broadcast and pro audio-video industry. This week, Doug Shear, their CEO, explains what his company does and how it can help us better understand our markets and our audiences. All this, plus Tech Talk and Buzz Flashback. The Digital Production Buzz starts now.
Tonight's Digital Production Buzz is brought to you by Otherworld Computing at MacSales.com and by Zendata at Zendata.com.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative,
one show serves a worldwide network of media professionals,
current,
uniting industry experts,
production,
filmmakers,
post-production,
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
And welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for creative content producers covering media production, post-production, and marketing around the world. My name is Larry Jordan, and joining us as our co-host, the ever-affable, ever-handsome, ever-vivacious Mr. Mike Horton.
Hello, Larry.
By the way, I should mention that our news editor, Randy Altman, has the week off.
Oh, darn. Really?
Yeah.
That's why I come in here. Well, go ahead, Larry.
Gosh, thank you. Mike, I moderated an interesting panel last night that was sponsored by Keycode Media and Sony about the future of post.
You had a lot of really good people there.
We had Michael
And
Cioni.
you were asking all the questions.
And we had Michael Cioni, who's the president of Light Iron, who's been on the show. Michael Whipple, who's the chief engineer for Sony Picture Entertainment that handles their post-production. He's like he builds the equipment.
Wow.
And then Brian McMahon, who is the senior digital colorist for modern video film, was the artist talking about how to use the equipment.
I think we've had Brian on this show before, I think.
We have had.
Because he does all the big movies.
And what I was interested in was where's the future? Is the future in 4K or is the future in high dynamic range HDR video? Or something new is wide color gamut.
You and I talked about this a little bit, and I didn't say that there was much future for HDR, but you think there is before 4K, at least on TV.
Well, I think that it's going to be really, really hard for the audience to see a difference between a 2K and a 4K image.
Well, yeah.
From a marketing point of view, maybe, but from a real point of view, probably not. But the ability to see differences in video from HDR to what Mike Cioni called SDR, standard dynamic range. HDR is just going to jump off the screen, wrap its arms around
don't
you,
you think
and wrestle you to the
HDR
couch.
really looks video-like?
No. I think it looks much more real.
Really?
Yeah. Especially because you're able to maintain. Remember how video highlights blow out in such a way that it just looks bad as opposed to the way film highlights blow out when it's overexposed? HDR gives us much more of a filmic look because we're able to retain the detail in the highlights.
That panel last night, was it on a big screen? Were you looking at images on a big screen? Or was it just Q&A?
It was just talking. It wasn't. We didn't do any image analysis.
I'm telling you, I don't like HDR.
You don't like HDR?
I like it in still photography and what you can do with it, but on movies, it just looks like video.
Well, we will have to see.
People in the chat tell me that I'm right. Just for the heck of it. Make me
some
feel
checking.
good.
Currently, Media Composer and Final Cut and Premiere don't support HDR, so it's a future thing. I think we're going to hear more at IBC. We'll just have to see.
Okay.
I
don't know what I'm talking about. So.
You always know what you're talking about. In fact, Mike and I are going to be right back with Philip Hodgetts talking about the Haiku of Production right after this.
Still to come on The Buzz, Philip Hodgetts, Sean Mullen, Doug Shear, Tech Talk, and the Buzz Flashback.
When you're working with media, one thing is essential. Your computer needs peak performance. However, when it comes to upgrading your Mac, there are so many different options to choose from that the process can be confusing. That's why Otherworld Computing carries the best upgrades that lets your computer performance and storage grow as your needs grow. Since 1988, OWC has become one of the most trusted names in quality hardware and comprehensive support to the worldwide computer industry. With an extensive online catalog of Mac, iPhone, and iPad enhancement products, as well as a dedicated team of knowledgeable experts providing first-rate tech support, OWC has everything you need to take your current system to the next level. Whether you need to maximize your system's memory, add blazing speed, or enhance reliability, look no further than the friendly experts at OWC. Learn more by visiting macsales.com today. That's macsales.com.
Philip Hodgetts is the CEO of Intelligent Assistance and Lumberjack System. He's also involved with technology in virtually every area of digital production and post-production. Even better, he's a regular contributor to the BuZZ. Hello, Philip. Welcome back.
And I guess Michael?
Yeah, me too. I'm here. I'm the guy with the mug.
Michael is the technologist in the group, so if there's a technical question you've got, Philip, that you don't know the answer to.
Yeah, if you want to know anything about metadata, Philip, you want to ask me.
I have a couple of coded questions for you later.
Okay.
Philip, I love the phrase, the haiku of production. What does that mean?
It's a phrase I coined to try and describe what I was doing with the Solar Odyssey, because a haiku is a very specific type of poetry. It has a very rigid structure, and you have to try and fit whatever thought you want to do into that very rigid structure. And in that way, I see that what I'm trying to do with a small production kit and still maintain quality is trying to fit something into a very rigid structure, which in this case is that over-the-shoulder bag that I demonstrated with just on an earlier show this year.
I want to talk more about the reduced gear, but I want to think about whether the haiku of production is moving in the right direction or not. I can understand when you want to do run-and-gun shooting, having the least amount of gear, because it's easy to run and gun when you're not carrying tons of stuff, but video is in the details, putting the right amount of light in the right spot, putting the right microphone in the right spot. And sometimes having a choice of tools allows you to get higher quality production. Are we at cross purposes here?
No, in the same way that a haiku is only one form of poetry, there are probably 20, 30, 40, 50 other forms of poetry, various structures in poetry. So sticking with my analogy, different types of production fit into different roles. So I want to be able to carry stuff internationally. I want to be able to carry a kit into a restaurant and set up without it imposing on the restaurant, without it having to have 3 or 4 people around and the additional logistics that requires. So this is really not so much a case of are we doing the highest possible quality production we can. This is more a case of let's do production that we couldn't do in any other way. And so there's no reason that anyone should be forced to write a haiku, and there's no reason that anyone should be forced to try and make a reduced minimalist production kit unless they want to travel internationally and not be weighed down by 6 or 7 bags.
Yeah, speaking of that, there are more and more airlines now restricting what you can bring on the your overhead or underneath your bags. It's pretty soon they won't allow you to bring on pretty much anything other than your purse and what you absolutely need. And so what you're getting into, Philip, is what you're going to have to have for your production gear. So the less you have, the better off you are.
It sounds go ahead, Philip.
I was just going to say that this is not the only type of production I get involved with. When we needed some promotional video for Lumberjack, I made sure that we shot with some really nice Blackmagic cameras. We did have all of the lighting. Outdoors we used the reflectors. It was a production because that's what we were going for. Whereas in what I'm doing with the Haiku kit is that I'm trying to create a good quality production, something that I can work with, but not carry a lot of gear. And yes, it does mean that you compromise. It does mean you don't have a belt in case the braces fail or a brace in case the belt fails. So you do have to accept that you're trying to fit into a particular structure. There will have to be compromises. And if you don't have to make those compromises, that's great. If you've got a chase car and a grip kit, a grip truck, yay for you.
Well, the analogy that comes to mind is that a haiku poetry is minimalist poetry. And what you're looking at here is minimalist production. How do you get something that's artistic, haiku, with the least amount of words, the least amount of syllables, the least amount of gear? So it seems to me that the analogy is in the minimalism. Is that fair?
I would think so, yes. I mean, a haiku is a very minimalist piece of poetry. I think it only has, from memory, 21 syllables. I probably should have looked that up before I came on the show. But yeah, yes, it is. It is kind of a little thing with me now is that, how small can I go? And we do trade off in the compromise. We trade off the flexibility of having to have that dynamic swoop around the table shot or the dynamic shot swooping in on the food for that pickup shot. You know, that you do have to trade off.
The crane shot for your food.
Yeah.
Food shot.
Yeah, the crane shot over the table. I'm happy to compromise on that.
Exactly.
But, for the other show that we're doing, in the Lunch with Philip and Greg show, there's no real compromise because we have to set up within the restaurant context, and we can only do that with the sort of minimalist kit that I've been using. But for the other show that Greg and I are doing, the cooking show, we're including a DSLR, so we do have the 2 GoPros for those over-the-counter shots, but we also have a camera that we alternate using so that we can get those moving shots and add the dynamism without adding too much to the production kit. And yes, I'm carrying a light because you do have to fill some light sometimes.
Well, I want to hear more about this Lunch with Philip and Greg thing. What's that?
It's an idea that I had a couple of months back, and finally we started implementing it around the time of the Final Cut Pro Final Cut Pro 10 Creative Summit up in San Jose. It is literally what it sounds like. Greg Clark and myself take somebody that we find interesting out to lunch, and open invitation, Larry, when you're ready. We take them somewhere nice, and we set up little lapel mics, the same kit that we showed on the BuZZ a couple of months back. Lapel mics on each person and 2 4K GoPros facing both sides of the table. Now, from the 4K GoPro, I can do a nice zoom in. I can extract a 2-shot or 2 single shots of Greg and I. I've got a lot more flexibility in post-production to play with it, and simply dragging and drop effect presets from the browser onto the multicam clip. It makes it very easy in Final Cut 10 to reframe the shots as we go. So go back to those same shots over and over. So by having the oversampling, I've got that flexibility. And it's really just a way of getting to know people that we've known in one way or other for a long time, but getting to know the person as opposed to the public figure. It's surprising how long you can know people and really know nothing about them.
Do you ask for permission to mount the cameras at the restaurants?
No, I learned a long time ago that it was a lot easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, because if you ask for permission, people start to think about it. If you just put the cameras up, nobody complains. I've been incredibly surprised that we can put 2 cameras up, and we're only using like clamps with goosenecks, so they're very non-intrusive. But the restaurants have said, I've either ignored it, or the wait staff have asked what was going on, or mostly they just ignore it.
Philip, on our live chat, Russ Fairley has been taking you at your word on the haiku of production and wants to remind you that a haiku poem is 3 lines. The first line is 5 syllables, the second is 7 syllables, and the third is 5 syllables, for a total of 17 syllables. I mention this only because you now have 2 GoPros, so you've got 15 other thingies that you can put in your kit to get this to... How are you getting rid of lens distortion? Because the GoPro, because of the fisheye lens, is not a flattering camera for interviews.
No, and I have learned that putting them in too close is very, very unflattering.
But can't you turn that off? Isn't there a little switch or something like that you don't have to shoot that fisheye
It depends on the mode in the GoPro. The 4K has only one lens angle option. Okay. If you're going in 1080 mode, you can go into narrow options, and that's what I used on the family history video. I shot 1080 and had one camera in a narrow and one camera in a wide, a two-shot. I probably do have more than 15 other things in the bag when you count. And the 5 thing certainly comes up to 5 tracks in my multi-clip, because I have the 2 video tracks and 3 audio tracks or angles in my multi-clip.
So how are you, let's just talk gear for a minute. What gear are you using? What microphones are you using? And how are you attaching stuff to the table?
Simply with, sorry, just before I finish the lens distortion question, I got sidetracked. There are 2 solutions. One, you can just move in very, very close to the screen, and the lens distortion will go away, because it's really only because we're taking a wide angle and screaming it into a screen that we get that lens distortion at all. But a more practical solution that is a bit more flexible than making everyone sit this far from the screen is to use one of the very many lens distortion reversal filters. I happen to use Alex 4D's Alex Golden, simply because Alex was coming on the show. His lens distortion, remove lens distortion filter is free, and I thought it would kind of be a nice irony to use Alex's filter on Alex's shots.
I tend to favor the filter to take the lens curve out, because that way you don't have to worry about where the people are sitting and you can still clean it up.
Yeah.
So what other gear do you have?
Pretty much the same kit that I showed for the family history video. Is the 2 GoPros, 4K GoPros in the strap mount, so they're very low profile. I mount those on goosenecks, and you can actually mount multiple goosenecks to get the table height that you want. I have learned that in most cases attaching to a chair or nearby railing is better than the table, because very few restaurant tables are stable enough not to move.
A lot of camera jiggle.
The stabilized filter is going to, in Final Cut 10, is going to get a real workout on at least one of the lunches coming up. Then there are the 3 Zoom H1Ns for the audio recorders. Each participant gets 1 recorder. I'm using an inexpensive lapel microphone that's sold on Amazon as a replacement for a Sennheiser radio mic.
Hold it. Why are you recording on 3 separate Zoom recorders as opposed to using dual channel mono?
Well, because this way I can have 1 lapel microphone and 1 on each person feeding to a recorder in their pocket, and there are no wires trailing around the table to get caught up. And radio mics add another layer of complexity, another layer of having something else to check.
I wasn't asking about a radio mic, but the Zoom can record 2 microphones because it's a stereo recorder. You wouldn't need the 3rd. You could just have you and Greg, say, on channel 1 and channel 2 and a guest on a 2nd recorder. Why did you decide to go with 3?
Well, because there is no simple way of plugging those into a Zoom recorder. They only have 1 input on these particular models, and so I would have to get a wire rig, and that would be more connectors, and more connectors there's more chance of points of failure. Plus, having the separate recorder means that everybody, it's just very easy for me to switch the angles, the audio angles in Final Cut Pro 10 as people start to talk. It works remarkably well. I'm quite surprised.
Okay, and are you doing anything with lighting?
For the lunch with Philip and Greg, no, apart from choosing carefully where we sit and where we place the cameras. Keeping the angle of the light in mind. For example, at lunch, we recorded lunch with Jerry Hoffman up in Colorado last week, and although the view out to the river and the hillside behind would have been a much nicer view than the restaurant wall, the light was coming from that direction, and so we learned back in the day to keep the light behind the camera, and so I stick with that. That's my lighting in the restaurants. The other reason is it's lunch for that reason, so there is some natural light in the restaurant.
I cut you off as you were describing the microphone you're using. What did you decide for a mic?
It's a very inexpensive, I think $29.95. It's sold on Amazon as a replacement microphone for a Sennheiser radio microphone pack. It's got the twist-on screw thread that matches the Sennheiser. Overall, I've been very impressed with those microphones. As your series shows, every microphone has its own unique characteristics. But these have been remarkably good at rejecting the sound that I don't want and keeping the close mic sound to the point that we're under the pathway for the San Jose International Airport, and it rejected the aircraft noise to an acceptable level. So, yeah, for the inexpensiveness of the kit, I mean, the whole kit is probably under $1,500 without the DSLR.
One other question is, new subject. Are you going to IBC, and what are your plans for Amsterdam?
I am going to IBC, and certainly will be showing Lumberjack at the Supermeet and the Intelligent Assistant software. And I think we're going to be part of the FCP Works Soho editors project, where they're going to have an expo, Final Cut Pro 10 expo, for a couple of days during Amsterdam. And I want to shoot Lunch with Philip and Greg and some semi-serious foodies shows while we're there.
Yeah, well, when are you getting there? Because I'm getting there early and I'm leaving late.
Well, I've decided that since I've got to do the long air flight, that we're going to get there the week before and fly down to Barcelona and stay with a friend down in Barcelona and do some foodie shows. Oh, wow. And then come back for IBC, and then after IBC, go down to Munich and spend some time with a long-term friend of the family who haven't seen for 5 years. So that should be fun too.
Yeah.
So one last question on pontification, which I know you hate to do, but what are you looking to see at IBC? What should we pay attention to?
Everything that was announced at NAB that have been shipping.
Exactly.
I mean, my interest is in post-production, so I'm still looking for a better miniature audio recorder than the Zoom H1. It's kind of a little clumsy to put in your pocket, and if I could find a smaller recorder that can take the micro SD cards, I'd certainly be looking for that. Just to keep a feel for what's going on. The interesting thing about IBC is that it's the European version, so you see a lot of European companies have a much better presence than they do at NAB, and so you see a different range of products in some cases.
It's going to be a fun trip. I've always enjoyed going to Amsterdam, and the one time that Mike allowed me to go to IBC, which was very kind of you, I might add. Yeah, well, I had a great time at the show.
You stayed there for 18 hours and got on a plane, came home.
Well, yeah, but I didn't have to sleep during that time.
Yeah.
I love Amsterdam. It's one of my favorite cities, and I'm kind of glad IBC is held there as a good excuse to go every year.
Absolutely.
Where can people see Lunch with Philip and Greg? Is it starting to be released, or are you still in production?
Yeah, no, there are 4 published, and the simplest way to do is simply type in the URL lunchwithphilipandgreg.com. That will take you to a filtered feed of the philiphodgetts.com blog that shows you only the Lunch episodes.
And for people that want to keep track of the rest of what Philip Hodgetts is doing, where can they go?
philiphodgetts.com, lumberjacksystem.com, or intelligentassistance.com.
And that's the Philip Hodgetts himself. Philip, as always, a delight visiting. I look forward to seeing you when you get back from Amsterdam.
See you next week, Philip. At last.
Still to come on the Buzz. Sean Mullen, Doug Shear, Tech Talk, and Buzz Flashback.
If you need long-term archiving for your video content, then you should look at ZenData. They specialize in providing secure, long-term storage of video content with a low cost per terabyte. The company has a variety of archive solutions that range from external LTO drives that can connect to your laptop to multi-petabyte storage systems using huge robotic libraries. ZenData systems will store your content on LTO or Sony optical disc archive cartridges. And with their next release, they also provide an option for archiving to the Amazon cloud. They offer great compatibility with many of the third-party applications used in the media and entertainment industry, including most media asset management systems. ZenData has hundreds of installations around the world, from Los Angeles to Mongolia. So if protecting your assets is important to you, visit zendata.com. That's XENDATA.com.
Sean Mullen is the CEO of Rampant Design Tools. He's also an Emmy Award-winning visual effects artist with over 60 feature film and television credits, including Charmed, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Ally McBeal, ER, and Nip Tuck. His company, Rampant Design Tools, specializes in creating original drag-and-drop visual elements for editors and VFX artists, and they have been busy. Hello, Sean. Welcome back.
Hi, Larry. Hi, Mike. Are my two favorite people here.
Yeah.
So here's the question. You obviously don't sleep.
No.
So the first thing I want to know is, what have you released lately?
Everything.
Pretty much. Since I saw you at NAB, I've released 18 volumes.
Jeez,
18 volumes of
Since NAB.
what?
Tons of transitions, overlays. We did a texture toolkit which is over 1,600 12K textures. We did motion graphics for editor product, all kinds of things.
How do you come up with 1,600 texture something or another's?
He has one texture, and it's red, and then it's blue,
Right.
and then it's green, and it's the same texture. It's just different colors.
That makes things a lot easier.
Okay, well,
now
now I understand. Okay.
Just rotate the hue.
Yeah.
Sean, one of the things you've been doing recently is doing a lot of 4K work, and I want to just chat with you about that. Why the interest in 4K? Is there really a market for it?
Our higher end clients, the studios and the people doing features, are all requesting 4K or higher. Do I think everyone's delivering in 4K right now? No, but there's a lot of productions protecting for 4K and delivering in 1080. So I think right now the big thing is protecting for 4K. Just like back in the day when we would work in SD, but you would shoot it in film, so you protect it for HD. I think they're doing the same thing nowadays, where they're protecting for 4K if and when broadcast 4K really picks up.
Well, why can't we just take our regular 1080 stuff and scale it up?
I mean, there's some pretty amazing hardware technologies out there and software technologies out there, but to up-res an entire show would take a lot, and it still doesn't quite look right. I'm sure it'd be fine. I mean, there are some networks that still broadcast or are produced in 720 and they broadcast in 1080. You really can't tell, But if you put a true 4K image next to an up-resed 1080 image, I think you definitely tell the difference.
On a TV?
Oh, I believe so.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if you go to like your Best Buy where they have a Samsung 1080 right next to a Samsung 4K playing the same feed, it's night and day.
Wow. Yeah, how come it's night and day in the Best Buy, but it's not night and day in your house?
Just a ridiculous amount of compression, I think. I mean, once H.265 really takes over, I think that will completely change. But right now, you're seeing a lot of 4K delivered super crunchy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are some 4K in your house with 4K displays. If you go to that person's house and watch that 4K display, it certainly doesn't look anything different than my 1080 at home.
That's true. If you get a 4K Blu-ray or an actual 4K feed in that monitor,
right,
or go to YouTube and watch 4K, it's gorgeous. But you're absolutely right. The broadcast, or not the broadcast, but the satellite delivered 4K is really crunchy.
I don't even see the difference when I watch a 4K YouTube thing.
But that's because you're watching it with your glasses.
Well, I'm
off,
watching it on the I'm watching it on the computer.
Well, it isn't 4K on the computer. It isn't 2K on the computer.
Even on my Retina computer?
No.
What am I watching then?
Well, I don't know what you're watching. I don't want to know what you're watching. I want to talk to Sean. Something we're talking about your home movie
I want
collection.
to understand what we're talking about. Okay.
Sean, what kind of stuff have you been releasing? What are your effects about?
Well, we were asked quite a bit recently to make transitions. So we've been making a lot of custom transitions, everything from flare transitions and glitch transitions to I made a series of matte transitions, which we had a very popular matte product a while back, and so I made a supplemental transition pack for it. Just a lot of hand-created transitions. We did a motion graphics for editors kit where it has 600 pre-animated elements for editors that they can drag on and make their own MoGraph, which has done really well. And of course, your favorite texture toolkit, where I shot one texture and rotated it 1,600 times to get you that out there.
By the way, you have a lot of fans on the live chat. Russ says, since we added an Ursa camera, my clients insist on 4K, so it's pretty much a rampant town around here. So
wow.
Fans are all over the live chat today.
Well, that means a lot.
Yeah, Monica's in there. She's saying, where are you?
Monica.
Well, nobody can figure out how to use this live chat. That's what.
We have to give Michael instruction on how to chat.
I did. It was a 30-minute demo on how to use this thing.
Situation. With who are the clients that are buying the 4K? Are you seeing it just going to high-end studios, or is it broader? What I'm trying to figure out is how big a groundswell do we have for 4K, or is it still being driven by marketing hype?
4K in general is definitely a marketing hype. You want to sell the new TVs. You're not going to sell a lot of 1080p TVs right now. So, Black Friday and the Super Bowl coming up, you're going to want to push that in 4K, whether or not you're going to get 4K. But for us, I would say 40% to 50% of our sales are 4K. I've done a lot of tutorials showing editors that even if you're working in HD, the 4K gives you a lot more latitude. You can rotate the frame, you can scale it, so you can get a lot more flexibility out of the effects by using 4K and 1080. That being said, our 2K products outsell our 4K products quite a bit. just because some people are afraid of 4K, thinking their machine won't push it. But in reality, it's really not that heavy of an element to put on top of your footage.
From a computer point of view, 4K doesn't make any difference. But
Right.
I know that.
From a storage point of view, it does take more storage.
That's correct.
What format are you shipping for 4K?
I do everything in ProRes.
422, 4x4?
Depends. If it has an alpha channel, it's quad 4. If it doesn't, it's 422.
422 or 422 HQ?
I try to do HQ. It just depends. It depends. For the download versions, I'll give you a HQ or LT. On the hard drive versions, everything is as best quality as possible because we ship you a hard drive, so drive space is irrelevant at that point.
When you talk the download version, we talking big downloads
Oh, yeah.
that take
at
3 to 4 days. It's like-
Absolutely. At 4K, yeah, you're looking at between 30 and 60 gigs for a volume.
Oh, wow.
30 and 60 gigs for a volume. And you've done 18 volumes?
Oh, total, we're in the neighborhood of something like 30 or 40 volumes. I mean, my Amazon bill is huge.
Oh, my
but I'm not going to sacrifice quality just for the ability to download. If it's really an issue, we'll ship it to you on a hard drive, which we offer all the time. But there's really no reason for the end result to suffer because of the download takes a little bit longer.
What's been a popular seller? Transitions or some of those light leaks that you've put together, or what?
Our light leaks do really well. Everything from the free stuff all the way up to the 4K. We have editors of all types using our light leaks everywhere. You see a lot of our mattes and lens flares and light leaks on America's Got Talent. Our stuff is everywhere, but the light leaks and the flares and the light effects are definitely the most popular.
The live chat has already spotted the live cat walking behind you. We want to know if the office mascot has a name.
That's Dash. We have 5 cats. It's like Animal Kingdom here. So there's lots of animals all over the place.
As a matter of fact, Dash is one of the transitions.
Yes, we're going to do cat
Walks
effect,
across the
5K.
screen.
Remember the Kiki effect? We're going to do cat effect.
Dash. The Dash effect.
The Dash effect. What are you working on next? More transitions, more visual effects, or is there a cool new thing you just discovered that you can't talk about or is it more of the same at the moment?
There's definitely cool stuff that I can't talk about, but I will say we're doing a whole new series of effects. And I know you're going to not like this maybe, but we've been asked to develop an 8K series for a studio. So we're going to start working on 8K sooner than later.
Well, you probably should, because the Olympics are coming up in Tokyo and it's going to be all 8K over there. So you might as well start doing it for them.
We have friends at Technicolor who told us that 8K is coming and it's coming fast.
Sure.
So.
Although I wonder we're going to be shooting 8K, like we're shooting 6K now, but I wonder if we're going to be editing 8K. And I wonder if you're going to be able to see it, because how are you going to monitor an 8K
You talked
image?
to Shioni last night. They showed a complete workflow from editing 8K, from shooting 8K, editing 8K, broadcasting 8K.
But when I put him on the spot, he said 4K is going to be our distribution format for the next 10 years. 8K is going to be what we originate in.
But we'd like to see it, and we talk about it, and it's fun.
You're not going to see an 8K
We did.
image.
We saw it on a big 8K display.
Wrong.
It was huge.
It's just...
And it looked like video.
Sean, talk to Mike quietly after the show's over. Would you just explain to him just how wrong he is? For people that want more information about your products, where can they go?
They can go to rampantdesigntools.com.
All one word, Rampant?
All one word.
Rampantdesigntools.
And by the way, Rampant is giving away a raffle prize at the Amsterdam Super Meet. So, another reason to go there. Right, Sean?
Absolutely, Mike.
Get Stephanie on it.
The website is rampantdesigntools.com. Sean Mullen's the CEO. Sean, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Larry and Mike.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Still to come on The Buzz, Doug Shear, Tech Talk, and Buzz Flashback.
Hi. I've got a ton of brand new training videos showcasing all the new features in Final Cut Pro 10.2, and it's available today. In fact, we've updated our entire Final Cut training just for this release. We added more than 70 new movies covering every major new feature in the software. Then I added new techniques and new ways of working that I've discovered and written about in my newsletter over the years. I updated our workflow and editing training with 31 new movies and effects with 41 new movies. This makes our Final Cut Pro 10 training the most comprehensive, most up-to-date, and most affordable way to learn everything
about this amazing software. It's quick, it's easy, and it's complete. I'm proud of all of my training, and especially this one. Get your copy today in our store at larryjordan.com, or even better, become a member of our video training library and get access to all our training for one low monthly price. Both are incredible values. Thanks.
This is Tech Talk from the Digital Production Buzz.
One of the features that separates Final Cut from other editing software is its ability to label clips using keywords. A keyword is a descriptor that describes some part of a clip, maybe a costume, the actor that's in it, or any other characteristic that you prefer. The cool thing is that we can search on keywords and build both keyword collections and smart collections, which is what I want to illustrate today. I've got a bunch of clips here that we've imported. Now, you know when you import clips that you can import keywords based upon folder names, which is what's happened here. This is part of the import process, and while very useful, it's even more important to be able to add keywords to clips as part of the editing process. For instance, here, I've got a polar bear. If we want to see what keywords are associated with the polar bear, we go down to this key icon right here, and when the clip is selected, we see that it's been assigned a keyword for animals and a keyword for Pond 5. Notice these icons right here, the blue icon. These are called keyword collections. When you click on a keyword collection, let's close the keyword window, only those clips that have been assigned the animal keyword are displayed, even though all the clips are available to me. The keyword collection gives me a subset of those clips to which a keyword has been assigned. We've got other keyword collections of dance and people and, say, space. Well, let's say that I want to create another keyword collection. I want to say, let's highlight everything that's a bear. So we'll hold the Command key down and select a black bear and a grizzly bear and a polar bear. Select our key icon and we'll give it the word bear. And when I press enter, we've added that keyword. Notice that bear is not part of the tiger clip, but it is part of the bear clip. And a new keyword collection is bear, which allows me to see just the bear clips as part of the animal clips, which is part of all the media, which is in that particular stock footage folder. This ability to assign an unlimited number of keywords to any combination of clips makes it really easy for us to not just have to group clips in folders, but to group them by content or subject matter. Where this power becomes especially important is when we start to find stuff. If we go up to the search box up here and I type the word bear, I search for those clips that have bear in the file name or bear in the notes field associated with that clip. But notice that grizzly's not there because the grizzly clip is not called grizzly bear, but grizzly sow. What I'd like to be able to do is to do a more refined search, which we can do by clicking on the magnifying glass. This opens up a search filter. We could search for text if we want, but the key is to click this plus sign right here and look at all the different things I can search on, whether the media is used in a project, whether it's been stabilized, what format it has, all useful, but the one that I like the best is keywords. Keywords allows me to display all the keywords that are assigned to every clip inside the selected folder or the selected library. One of the new features inside Final Cut 10.2 is the ability to resize this window. In the past, we were limited to 27 keywords. Now we can do hundreds because even the window, not only can it be resized, but we can also scroll it should that become necessary. With this filter, let's say that I want to find all clips which are both animals and landscape. Now, I'm using the word and not in a logical sense. I'm saying that if it has an animal keyword, there it is, or a landscape keyword, we'll just show you the landscapes. See, no animals. We've got animals, no landscapes, or both. This any means that if a clip has either animals or landscape, it's a Boolean or, it'll show up here in the browser. If I switch this to and, include all, now, is there any clip that has animals and landscape? No, so this comes up empty. But is there a clip that has animals and bear? The answer is yes. all three of these clips have an animals keyword and a bear keyword. This ability to use multiple keywords in a variety of combinations, clips that have any of the keywords or clips that must have all the keywords, makes a huge difference in trying to be able to sort through clips, far superior to simply grouping clips in folders or bins. What makes this especially useful is if we have a search that we like, for instance, it must be both animals and bear, we can create what's called a smart collection. A smart collection is a saved search. We'll call this animals and bears. And notice the color of the icon. Blue means it's a keyword collection, assigned automatically, maintained automatically by Final Cut. A saved search, a smart collection, has got the purple icon. For instance, if I go back to here, and let's pretend that this iceberg is a bear. So we're going to give it a bear. There we go. And we're going to call it an animal. Now, those of you who know icebergs know that this is neither a bear nor an animal. There is a great leap of faith going on here. But I digress. Notice when we click on our Save Search, our new clip, which has got both animals and bear as a keyword assigned to it, shows up as part of the Saved Search. Keyword collections and saved searches are maintained automatically by Final Cut. The power that keywords provide is the ability to organize our clips any way that we want and find clips based upon any combination of keywords that we like. It is a powerful feature inside Final Cut Pro 10. I recommend you take a look at how it works. Douglas Shear founded D.I.S. Consulting in 1982 and has led the firm through 550 field studies, researching cameras, servers, storage, audio switchers, lighting, lenses, digital cinematography, and much more. He also currently serves as the governor for the New York region for the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, which all the rest of us call SMPTE. Hello, Doug. Welcome.
Hello.
Before I offend you, do you want to be Doug or Douglas? I have managed to say it twice differently.
I like Doug.
You got it. Doug, what is D.I.S. Consulting?
Well, we are a syndicated market research company. We do both syndicated studies and also custom projects.
What does the word syndicated mean?
It means that more than one company can buy the same study.
Well, research companies have been doing that for a long time, where they'll do research and sell it to anybody that wants to pay for the check. So it sounds like syndication also has some control over the content of the study? Or, I mean, is it just simply that you're selling to multiple buyers?
Well, another way to say it is multi-client.
Oh, okay. That is much more understandable than syndicated, because syndicated I'm still struggling with. Okay. Who are typical clients?
Well, we've had over 1,700 of them, so you could say that if the study is about cameras or camcorders, it's most of the major brands supporting that study.
So then tell me about the research itself. What are we trying to determine?
Well, the core of any of these studies is the product area. So people are wanting to know what their brand share is. They want to know which market segments, which regions are purchasing the most equipment or planning to purchase the most equipment, and what kind of equipment they're going to buy. Because there's a lot of range within, let's say, within cameras or camcorders. We collect our information by sensor, and so that's of more use to the manufacturers.
Well, there's lots of different ways that we can do this. Are you looking at sales data and trying to see what's buying, or are you looking at demographic data in terms of projecting who the audience is? What are we looking at? What are we basing our studies on?
Well, we're basing the studies on feedback directly from end users. In this case, broadcasters, professional video or audio users of a variety of types. So ranging anywhere from institutional users to TV broadcasters to independents, mobile companies, meaning the truck companies, and everything and anything in between.
We've had a lot of fun over the last several shows talking to several different market companies who are trying to figure out what's selling or predicting what's happening in the future or determining what features manufacturers need to add to their equipment. What would be an appropriate use of your data?
Well, as I say, the central area is the product data, but we go way beyond that. So in our technology trends section, we look particularly at the features or specifications that people might want in the next generation of camera, server, whatever the product is.
So you're helping people figure out what the next product should be in terms of a feature set, not just simply whether it's selling or not.
Exactly.
So what are some recent studies and what have you learned? Tell me all the gossip. I really want to know all the secrets here.
Well, I think there are a lot of different things going on in the industry at the moment. One is what I would call prices in free fall. So looking at cameras and camcorders as an example, something that you might have had to spend $100,000 for just 5 or 6 years ago is now probably something you can put in your hands for less than $10,000. Yeah. So, we're seeing that as a real change in the accessibility of equipment to customers.
That's a question a lot of us have always been asking. The price of these cameras and other items have gone from 6 figures down to a couple of figures. How did that happen?
Well, part of it is competition. I think part of it is a reaction to the crash of 2008, because in many ways the industry is still reacting to that, is still pulling itself up from that. And in fact, another thing I would say is a big trend at the moment is that there are a lot of manufacturers who I feel are hanging on by a thread. They're really candidates for acquisition, and they're not hiding it very well.
So obviously the margin is not very wide as it used to be, correct?
Right. So profits are very tight. And when you look at, let's say, I don't like to name names of companies particularly, in part because they're almost all clients. But I would say that,
That's all right. We're not going to ask you.
For survival's sake. But I would say that just taking the category of cameras and camcorders, what you're seeing is that there are many of the same features, many of the same levels of operation. Most cameras now are ultra high definition, or certainly most companies are offering one flavor or another of ultra high def. And yet you can buy such a camera for as little as $1,000, or you can buy it for 25 or 35 or more, so 1,000. So those companies that are insistent on maintaining profit and are insistent on providing what they believe to be better quality, they're really getting tough competition from what I would call bottom feeders.
One of the challenges that we have, especially in a technology industry, is technology changes so quickly that you're afraid that whatever you buy today in 6 months is outdated. Does your research look into that at all in terms of fear of buying because whatever you get is going to be out of date? And what have you seen?
Well, I like to quote, I had, in the 80s, I edited the first guide to electronic news gathering. And C. Robert Paulson, Bob Paulson, was the principal author. He said something in there which was, if you're seeing it in the market now, if it's been introduced at NAB, let's say, whatever it is, don't buy it for the first year. If it's still around a year later and there's nothing superior to it and enough people are out there using it, then you might feel safe in investing in it. Pretty good advice.
But given the technology turnover that we're seeing now, even if something is successful, a manufacturer is scrapping it and moving on to something else in 6 to 8 months.
It depends on which product you're talking about. I think that that's very true, certainly very true in consumer products. I think it's a little less true in professional or broadcast products. The problem really for a consumer of professional products who's trying to be sophisticated and thoughtful about it is that, yes, they are being bombarded with one offering after another. And so it's very hard when so many products are so similar to the others to decide which one is really the superior product.
Let's flip the coin. You've been doing research for manufacturers, helping them figuring out what features they need. For people that are creating content or the broadcasters who are using the gear, can your research help us to figure out what we should be doing next?
It can. I can say personally, we've always chased after manufacturers. That isn't to say we haven't had broadcasters and major facilities and even the consulting companies, the Accentures and the McKinseys, as clients. We have, and that has sometimes been very useful to end user customers.
So can creatives draw conclusions from some of the trends you're seeing, and what trends are you seeing that we need to pay attention to?
Well, I think there are a number of things now, certainly ultra high definition, but I think we get lost in, I like to say, I'm a K, you're a K. Everybody has a different flavor of K. And I think it's important not to get snookered, not to get taken in by simply the idea that high resolution is going to give you what you need. I think professionals are now looking much more carefully. They're looking at high dynamic range. They're looking at high frame rates. They're looking beyond purely ultra high definition. And that's smart because I'll take a company like Ariflex. They've been a client, but I'll just say that for a long time, they offered some very, very nice cameras, and they had a very strong position in digital cinematography, and yet they weren't offering Super 35 or 4K. They were taking a different path, and yet they produced cameras that offered very high quality, very, very high-end features, and they had and still have a very strong following. So I think it illustrates that true professionals, customers, are often able to look beyond simply the next generation, and they're able to look for and seek and buy those products that have the features they really want. And that's, again, it's very smart.
I'm thinking about professional consumers and the flight to the bottom that we're seeing with pricing. Are we seeing more decisions are based solely on price because either there's a feature similarity or we don't understand the feature and therefore discount it? Or is there something that is more dominant than price, such as brand name or testimonials from somebody else?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, I feel that the forums, meaning the online forums, are among the most useful things to users because they can get genuine feedback from, regardless of the fact that there are some ringers in there, but they can get genuine feedback from other similar customers about new products or existing products, and that's very helpful beyond, beyond the promotional control of the manufacturers. So I advise people to use things like that in order to have a feel for what really happens when you buy a certain product.
Are you looking principally at hardware, or do you look at software as well?
We do look at software. I think the overarching thing about software today is that every system which requires software, let's take cameras, although I'm not a one-trick pony here, but taking cameras, there's virtually no identical workflow between cameras, even of the same manufacturer. So each one has different compression. Each one has different connectivity. Each one has different kind of software that is required in order to blend it all into an end-to-end capture to finish system. So, therefore, software is tremendously important. And I think that the model today, which was really promoted largely by Adobe, which is leasing your software and not owning it, is advantageous in the sense that most of the major software packages that you would need in order to operate either as an independent or within an institution are available in that way. And that way you're always knowing that you're having the latest iteration of that software. But we do cover software in our sports report, in our digital cinematography report, in many of our reports where we're focused mostly on editing or graphics.
As you look at the last 6 months and project into the next 6 months, what's the big takeaway that we should learn based on your research?
Well, I think there's some things that are really coming to a boil, I would say. One is that flash media is just absolutely primed to take the place of hard drives. I think you're going to start to see that show up in products in the form of all-flash storage within laptops and tablets and so forth. I think you're going to see much more proliferation of flash. It's already probably penetrating something like 65 or 70% of camcorder use. But it's certainly, that's very much spreading. I think there's certainly the impact of drones and robotics and other forms of automation, very important and continuing to grow. We have a drone study, so we're very interested in that. And I think as far as 6 months, the economics are a concern. I mean, the world has continued to be very unstable from an economic point of view, and that's certainly most seen in Europe, but it's seen in pockets around the world, and that's difficult for manufacturers.
It's difficult for the rest of us, too.
Right now.
Right.
Doug, for people that want to learn more about your research or invest in your reports or just congratulate you for a job well done, where can they go on the web?
Simply DISresearch.com. They'll find all the prospectuses there. They'll find information about the company. That's a good suggestion.
Doug, I want to thank you so very much for your time. This has been fascinating. Yeah. And the website that they can go to is DISconsulting.com.
DISresearch.com.
DISresearch.com. Doug Scheer is the founder. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
It's time for a BuZZ flashback, 5 years ago today.
And our flagship product in that area is called Pluralize. And what it does is it allows you to automatically synchronize audio and video clips. If you don't use Pluralize, you're faced with a pretty tedious process of looking for hand claps or using a clapper and looking for that. So we take away that synchronization step for you.
This was a BuZZ flashback.
Michael, I was just reflecting on the comment that Doug Scheer made, where it's a race to the bottom for pricing.
Yeah.
And we all feel it's great because we get stuff for a lot less money, but we're not really benefiting ourselves for the long term if these manufacturers go out of business.
Well, some of them will. I mean, is that any different now than it was, say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? I still don't have that answer that why did the prices of these very, very expensive items drop so much? I mean, we're talking about 80, 90%.
I think.
And it can't be just because we shipped off the manufacturing to a country
I think Doug gave us the answer. Back when the economy collapsed, 2008, 2009, and nobody was buying, if you've got nobody buying, you drop your price to get somebody to buy something. And prices fell through the floor then because there was just nothing going on.
But Final Cut Pro was $999 in the year 2000. And,
yes, but Final Cut Pro was also 7 applications.
It was software, but hardware. It began with that. It seemed like everything just began with Final Cut Pro being a cheap piece of software. Then all of a sudden, it went to cameras, and it went to hard drives, and it went to everything else with digital video, as though the entire world decided to make movies.
It's interesting. We're going to be talking more about that in the future, but that was a fascinating segment. Thinking of fascinating, I want to thank our guests for tonight. Philip Hodgetts, the CEO of Intelligent Assistants, Sean Mullen, the CEO of Rampant Design Tools, and Douglas Scheer, the CEO of D.I.S. Consulting. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Here you'll find thousands of interviews, all online and all available to you today. Our website is getting a facelift. Check out our new look at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Talk with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Our theme music is composed by Nathan Doogie Turner with additional music provided by smartsound.com. Text transcripts provided by Take One Transcription. Visit takeone.tv to learn how they can help you. Our producer, Serena Catania. Our engineering team, led by Megan Paulos, includes Ed Golia, Alex Hackworth, James Miller, Lindsay Lubert, Brianna Murphy, and Jen Smith. And thank you to Alex for a wonderful summer. We will miss you when you go away. My name's Larry
Bye,
Jordan.
Alex.
His name's Mike Horton.
Yep.
Thanks for watching The Buzz.
The Digital Production Buzz was brought to you by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988. And by Zen Data, who provides highly competitive digital video archive solutions.